Hello everybody, welcome to this Good Vibrations reading for the week of November 26th of 2017. Before I get into the card reading, I do want to announce that I am going to be putting up a bunch of gift ideas that are intuitively based. I'm really feeling led to do some journey type of offerings. So once a month that I would post a private video. Some of them are customized and some of them are just a general journey that I would post. And then an activity of some sort, probably journaling for the most part, would be called forth each month. So it's kind of like intuitively touching base with yourself at least once a month to kind of figure out where you're at in the cycle. So I'll be putting up those offerings, I think, later today on my website at callofthewildenergytherapy.com. And it'll be its own section because I think these are offerings that I want to test out a little bit and see what people think. And then they may become a permanent part of my offerings going forward. So look out for that. It could be a nice gift for yourself as we head into 2018, which will be a master year. It's the number 11 when you add up 2018. And that is, it's where the beginnings of our mastery really come forward. We're always in this cycle of discovering more about ourselves through our experiences, through the rub of other people that we bump up against. And I think next year is going to be a big one, with it being an 11 year. That doesn't happen all the time. So let's make the most of it. Okay? So speaking of making the most of it and getting in touch with your intuitive side, our symbol for this week is Aquarius 25, a butterfly with the right wing more perfectly formed. And the right side of the body, that right wing area, is from the left brain. Okay, so it is a reshaping, and really what I was getting, because both the Hermit, let me get these held up, the Hermit and Temperance came up. And so it's going within, that's what the Hermit's telling us, going within for our wisdom, but also Temperance is about, it's just like when you're cooking and you've got eggs and you got to mix the eggs into something that's hot. And so you have to temper it, meaning you put a little of the hot liquid in the eggs and you keep stirring, and it's like you're getting the eggs up to temperature. And I feel like we have to, with this symbol, what that's indicating to me is we have to get our left brain, that masculine side of us, that I got to get up and I got to get it done and I got to, it's the to-do list part of ourselves, very driven, and that part of us is necessary, but boy, it can get out of whack really easily, and especially at this time of the year, headed into Christmas time, people go a little wacky with their preparation, and I've got to have this particular gift, or I've got to do the Christmas cards, or. There's a real balancing that's needed. That's what I see when I think of Temperance. You see the two cups. That's like the two sides of the brain. And actually, the intuition is what is flowing that water up to the other cup. The intuition is feeding that left brain part of us. So what this equates to is when we allow ourselves to get quiet enough, we allow this this part of us, to the intuition, to rise, which can only be done when you have a minute to get quiet and you stop with all the chaos. Left brain kind of loves the chaos because it loves to make order of all of that. But the right brain part of us really loves, it's like when you're inspired to do a creative project, or you're inspired to write, or you're inspired to play music. There is a quiet moment that occurs where that spark comes up, where that desire comes forward. And that's what I'm meaning by the analogy of tempering the eggs. Because if you just pour all that hot liquid into the eggs, they will scramble and you won't have the consistency that you're looking for. And what your spirit is saying through me here is that if you just dump a bunch of that left brain activity on something, the left brain is like the hot liquid, and the intuition, that right brain side of us, is the eggs, which are that's the ingredient that is important here. That if you just dump a bunch of logic and structure and to-do lists on top of those eggs, sure, you'll still have the eggs, but it won't be in the form, it won't be in this nice fine consistency that you want. It will all just be kind of clumps of things. And so you certainly can get things done in your week this week by employing the left brain. But what the energy is saying here is that a transformation is ready to happen within you, if only for just this week, where that it's the left brain part of you that's getting transformed, that's getting adjusted, so that you have a greater consistency of spirit. Because you think about when you're trying to employ to-do lists and you're putting structure on everything, and you're very driven, you're very, employing that left brain side. I got to get this done. I got to have that gift. I got to do the Christmas cards. You feel, many of us feel a sense of anxiety that comes up. We feel a sense of frustration, almost anger too in some respects, like and feeling bad for oneself, like, oh my God, could my family do anything to help me? Look at my to-do list to get this house ready for Christmas, or to get all the shopping done, or the presents, or I'm basing it around Christmas because that's kind of the time we're in, and people get a little frenzied around this. But this can also be at work, if only people understood me better and how much I'm trying to juggle, and that I'm doing my best. And there's a tempering that is being called for, where you need for yourself, it's more important to find your own contentment around what you have on your plate, and to be bold enough and courageous enough to also put a boundary around, I'm sorry, but I can't do that because I've got all this other stuff, and to make some really strong decisions for yourself around what you're wanting to put your sacred attention to and what you're not, because only you can control that. And then the quieting of the mind helps that inner spirit part of you to be able to come forward and to give you options, to give you some wisdom, to give you other ways, maybe creatively, to go at all the many projects that you have. Okay? So, and I was reminded too, I wanted to talk a little bit about, this has been in my consciousness lately. I was remembering when my family and I took a trip at Christmas time to Sedona a few years ago. And I'd never been. And we decided we were going to visit some of the vortex sites, And one of them is called the airport vortex. It's literally at the airport. And we found a place to park, and we just, wanted to walk around and feel that energy. And I can remember that near where we parked, there were these horses that it was a big herd of them, and they were trail horses. There was a sign indicating that they were used for trail riding. And here they were, sitting on the top of this vortex. The energy was pretty palpable, and I have to be honest, it wasn't the best feeling energy, and it was known to be, I think, a masculine energy force at that one. It didn't feel great. It felt very disturbed and almost OCD, like just all over the place, and it didn't feel right. It certainly didn't feel flowing. And so between me feeling that energy, and we were just entranced by, like, what is this all about, as well as looking at these horses, which those who know me, I mean, that's probably the most potent passion that I have, is my work with horses. It's how I launched my business. And I've worked with hundreds of them at this point. And I don't know why, but I have this connection to them. And I was just looking at them, and they just all had they weren't grazing, they weren't tromping about, they all had their heads down, and they were just so disconnected. And I really felt like their spirit had been broken. And, I had tears that formed just looking at them and kind of tuning in with them a little bit. And that's how I feel about this card, or this symbol for this week is, we need to watch it. That, these horses, they get tacked up. They get yet another person put on top of them. Some of them don't even freaking know how to ride at all. And they're nervous, and the person has all this anxiety, and the horse is like, okay, here we go again. And they're in that job because they know how to be steady and they can be trusted. But I just felt the brokenness of their spirit. I didn't feel any passion from them at all that I know to be their one wild soul that is this freedom energy. That's why I love working with them. But I do come across horses like those that I saw in Sedona, and it literally just, it was heartbreaking to tune into their energy, and people look at that as such an uplifting activity, like, yay, I'm going to go to Sedona and I'm going to ride these horses and it's going to be incredible, we'll feel the energy. And so these horses were on top of all of this masculine energy that felt so unbalanced, because the thing with the vortexes, not all of them, but certain ones are known as masculine energy versus feminine energy. And you can feel the difference. And then I think the one at Boynton Canyon is a mix of the two. And that one felt the best to us. So, but they're on top. It's related to this card because there was all of this masculine energy. And then there was this big to-do list for these horses. Probably more days than not, where they have yet another human being on their back, and they're expected to keep it steady and just keep walking, and don't you dare rear up, or don't you have a fit. You need to be perfect every time somebody is on your back. And I feel that way about all of us. That energy, and it's like our spirit is kind of calling us on our bullshit this week again. Like, and seeing us like those horses, and that we drive ourselves in that way, and that it is this unattainable level of performance that cannot bring contentment. Sure, you can keep going like that for years. You can, those horses can keep going like that, but I guarantee that they will have chronic hoof issues, because they're just pulling down all those energy blocks out of those humans, and they're getting no opportunity to express their greatest joy, their creativity, their spirit as a horse. They are not humans, they're horses. And they're not given those opportunities. Certainly not that group that I saw. And so how are we like those horses this week? I mean, really notice yourself. Really notice if you're all about just, okay, it's another task, like another human being going on my back, and I'm just expected to keep walking along. And who has the expectation? Do you have that expectation of yourself? Most likely that's what I think is probably true. Or are others putting those expectations on you? And that one wild soul part of you is wanting to come forward again for the temperance. It's so that you can have the flow between these two sides of the brain. It's not a very satisfying experience to only live from the masculine side, the to-do lists and the pushing through and the getting it done, and oh my God, where is the contentment? When all is said and done and your life is coming to an end, are you going to look back and say, oh God, I'm so glad I got the house decorated in that amount of time, and the gifts were all just right, and I got all the baking and all the whatever, or I got my to-do list done at work like nobody's business. And where is the contentment in all of that? And where is your creativity? Where is your ability to express what brings you joy? And that's that intuitive side. How do you allow yourself to get quiet enough so that these inspired ideas that spur you into action come forward? Or are you penned up like those horses and yep, I'm just here, it's just another day, on goes the tack, on goes the person, here we go down the same trail that we go 100 times a day. You know, we've really got to watch it, because moments matter. They really do. And sometimes you don't see that until you're faced with something really serious. And I don't want you to have to face that. I don't think you need a serious event to occur in your life. A health event, a financial event, a loss. I don't think you need that. You can call yourself on it right now and decide, nope. I'm not going to be that horse in the pen just waiting for the next thing. You're really going to bring a new level of balance to these left and right brain parts of yourself and allow your intuition to have some space. That's that wild part of you. It's your true home, and it's your true being. But we have to allow ourselves a moment to let that intuition speak up. Okay? All right, I better get going because it's starting to rain. First card up is from the Flower Therapy deck. Can't tell if it's raining or snowing. And time to decide. So all the cards are going to speak to how we best bring that alignment into form here. This is Wisteria, and it says, make a decision now so you can move forward. And wisteria has this beautiful scent that I'm being reminded of. And it's really a time in making a decision. Clearly, you have something you need to decide on. And in doing that, you're being called to bring in all of your senses. Think about, with the options that you have in front of you, what will be pleasing about each option, and kind of weighing that out. And I only want you to pay attention to what feels pleasing. What feels like it is, it brings you that greater contentment, that greater joy. Because that's going to help that right brain to have, to take a break. To the right brain to have its day, to have its moment. And the left brain to kind of take a break. Like the horses I was describing in the intro. Do they ever get a chance on the trail ride to stop and kind of take in and kind of do a little munching on the trail? I bet not. So you are being called to take in through your senses as you're making your decision, and knowing that your best choice is going to be made when you allow that right brain to lead the way. So it is about carving out time. If there's something that feels like this part of you that is so driven, that is so to-do list, there may be that might be the deciding point there. I'm not sure what the issue is about for you and the decision you need to make, but it's something centered around that and breaking out of that pattern, at least for this week, and once we get that energy going, it's easier to maintain it. Okay, so really pay attention to what feels pleasing to your senses. Okay, I'm going to keep the card readings kind of short this week because I feel like the intro was the most important part of the message, and these cards are just a pipeline to get there, or what wants to come up. So the second card is from the Angel Tarot deck by Doreen Virtue, and you have a Major Arcana card, the Emperor. Okay, the Emperor is known to be probably the most masculine, energy-oriented part of the Tarot. Certainly within the Major Arcana, which are kind of the supreme major components of the energy of these cards. And it's Archangel Michael, who's pointed out on here, who's a great protector. That's his energy, protection. Organization and logic, structure and discipline, leadership. Okay, so you can apply those concepts that I just said to that right brain part of you. You can actually bring a logic to creative endeavors, calling forth inspiration. What I feel like is that you need to you have a very natural leader type ability within you, but you need to employ those skills within the intuitive realm. You need to, and what that means is putting some structure around, okay, I'm going to have quiet time in the morning when I am if you have decks of oracle cards, for instance, or if you want to explore the tarot, you create time every morning where you pull, cards for yourself every day, and then you journal. Or you create time when you just sit quietly with your eyes shut and you just ask that wild spirit part of you. Think about the wild horses, not the ones that were in the pen like I described. Wow, the snow's really coming down now. Think about those wild horses. And what message do they have for you? It's putting organization and structure around finding time to reach into this part of yourself. Because clearly by the Emperor coming up, this is an innate skill that you have. It's very disciplined. But with this card coming up, it can be overdone. That can get out of whack at times. And so remember, the beauty is in the balance this week. So how can you find greater temperance? How can you find greater temperance to be able to have a consistency of your experience? How can I sit here with the snow pelting down on my face, and yet I feel the energy, the wind is all of a sudden so strong, and yet I feel this calmness within me on your behalf. This is your energy moving through me. A sense of just, wait a minute, this too shall pass. That everything has a message that comes across your path, that you're capable, and the importance of that creative spirit being born within you. And are there creative ways to even go about all the many things that you show your leadership in? There, for some reason, the word creativity is really coming up strongly. So yeah, how can you bring your natural sense of discipline, logic, structure to a practice where you begin to tune into more intuitive signs and that intuitive wild voice within you that can give you more options and more creativity. Okay? And this is your card now. It's all covered. Okay, the final card is from the Messages from Your Animal Spirit Guides deck. And this is Penguin. Alright, Penguin says, the period of darkness that you've been experiencing is now passing. This is always a lovely card to see. And you allow the passing of the dark times to happen. It is not happening to you. It's what I feel is coming forward. You are the one that can create those new venues for yourself to discover, greater depths of clarity, greater creative aspects. You can be the one that can decide that, no, I'm not going to be in the dark anymore. I'm not going to focus on the darkness anymore. You have to decide, and see, that's where that right brain part of us comes up, is that you have to be the decider of that. You have to be the one that decides that I want to spend the time listening to what my intuition has to say to me. I care about that wild horse within me that wants to say something. That matters to me. And I feel for those that picked this card, that there often can be a focus on everything that's not going so well, or it's big periods of darkness. That are you focused on the things that are not working well? Are you focused on the snow and that, I'm sitting out here and freezing and it's pelting down, it's not even like a light fluffy snow? Or are you focused on the fact that, oh my God, isn't Mother Nature amazing? In a matter of minutes, the whole landscape has been changed here. The temperature has drastically dropped. The wind and everything I'm looking at is being coated in fresh white snow. This is a chance for a new beginning for you. This is a chance for you to change the way you look at your life and to see it through the eyes of that wild spirit within you, and to not be the pack horse, to not be the trail horse that is penned up. There's just no fun in that. There's no creativity in that. And it can really cause a level of suffering that is unnecessary. So you're being called forward to really make a drastic change in what you consider darkness. And call yourself on it. Are you focusing on dark-like things? Everything that's not going well instead of the things that are going well? Because just like this weather, here the snow is slowing down. It can change in a heartbeat. So why not make the most of it and use the energy to your advantage right now? Okay? All right, everybody. There we go. There's your messages for this week. And I hope you have a good time playing with this idea of temperance and keeping your egg consistency just right. And what's the other analogy? Letting the wild horse within come out instead of penned up and doing yet another trail ride with an incompetent rider. You have control of that. We are so lucky to have this creative life that we are in. Take care, and I'll see you next week.